Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar as well. Another webinar set by Seidor Procons. This webinar will be, as I told you, recorded, and we will share as well the recording later on. We have with us today, the demo first is about a product from Boyum called Boyum Cloud, which is mainly for production, quality assurance, produce, inspect. It's an extension for sub-business one production model, which can be very helpful for the companies that has production and needs some extension, okay, for the production model in business one. We have with us today from Boyum team Jose Alberto as well Garcia, as well Lucas Correa. Both are from Boyum and from Boyum team, who will do the presentation, okay, for Boyum. So I will leave the mic and the ground to Boyum team. Okay, Jose will start, and then we will move to Lucas as well. Jose, it's for you now.
Okay, and thanks, Tony, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. So from Boyum team, my name is Jose Rodriguez, and I'm the channel manager for Boyum in Western Europe and Middle East. We are a software provider, and we work together with all the partners and with SAP Business One with extended functionalities for the system. And of course, we collaborate and we work with all the partners in the SAP ecosystem. In this case, Seidor, as global company, is our best partner, working all over the world. In my case, for example, Seidor is my best partner in Spain, in Portugal, in Morocco, in Middle East. So we have a very good relationship. And of course, we always work with them and we collaborate with them during all the process. It means in the sales process, if they need some support in implementation, if we need additional functionalities together with the customer, we can work together. This is the reason that we are here today to show you these specific models for the standard manufacturing. I'm very happy to have you all here in the session. That's it from my side. So now the main guest now here is Lucas Correa, my colleague, that will do the presentation. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Lucas. I will do the presentation now, the introduction to Boyum Cloud. I'll just share my screen. And I'll start with a very quick presentation, just to give an idea about what is Boyum Cloud. And then we'll dive into the application and see examples of it running live. So Boyum Cloud is a suite of lean cloud applications designed for SAP Business One. And those applications are role-based, meaning that we have applications for addressing specific needs that the customers might have, in a way that those applications can be very quickly deployed and be up and running with a minimal setup and a minimal effort on implementation. And then we'll see how this, what this means when we connect to the system, and we'll see the ways that the application are designed to be very easy to use. So anyone logging into the application can very quickly see what the application can do, start doing the transactions and so on with a minimum effort in trainings and configurations. So on the Boeing Cloud platform, we have three solutions that are build, produce, and inspect. Build is an application for managing product requests and product development. With this application, you'll be able to create product requests for new products or even for change in existing products. You can easily import, for example, bill of materials from Excel. If you're designing your product in a CAD designing software, then you can export the components and import directly into Build. You can use Build also in a way to estimate the cost of your products and also project your prices according to the costs. So you are developing a new product, you can then build what are the components that will be part of this product, and you can very easily calculate the whole cost considering both materials and the operations, and also calculate the prices for selling the products according to the costs. But this can also be done for products that you have existing in your database. So you are not actually, let's say, creating a new product, but you want to know what is the cost of a product that you have for you to quickly calculate the price. You can also do this very easily using build. Then we have produce, and produce is divided into two applications. One is for the production manager, and the other one is for the production operator. So the produce manager is an application designed for the production managers to understand what is happening on the shop floor, what's the flow of the operations on the shop floor, and to manage which works are going to be released to the operators on the shop floor. So they can very easily see all the works pending, understand what's the status of each one of the work orders on the shop floor, have real-time access to how the progress is happening on the shop floor, understand, for example, if you have or if you don't have stock for a specific work orders before you release it, and they can adjust the priorities on how the work is going to be executed, and also monitor which operators and which resources are working at that moment. And then we have produce operator. The produce application is aimed at executing production on the shop floor. So we have one for the manager, as I have just explained, and another one for the operator, in which the operators can register their work in real time, solving one of the big problems that is not knowing exactly what's happening on the shop floor at this moment, not having an online material transactions coming from the shop floor, meaning that, for example, if you don't have an online communication to what's happening on the factory, when a shop floor operator consumes materials for a work order, this will not be communicated into business one unless someone from the office go and make the transaction on the work order. But then, and also to know the progress of the work orders and what have been produced. But then if you have a tool that allow you to connect the shop floor directly to the ERP, and communicate in real time what's happening on the factory to the data that you have in the ERP, you're not going to have that problems, as you have your stock correctly synchronized to what's happening on the shop floor, both for the raw materials, the sub-assemblies, and the producer items, and also to understand how the production is flowing and have a precise idea on which tasks are still missing to be able to complete a certain work orders. The shop floor operator application is designed to go completely paperless on the shop floor. So the operators have a very easy to use interface where the only thing they have access to is to start and finish operations and to do the transactions associated to the operations, as well as to check if you have or not enough stock to do that task. So you can very efficiently register everything that is happening on the shop floor with the operator application. And then we have the inspect application that is also designed in a way for a manager and in another way for the operator. The inspect manager will give the quality managers a way to monitor all the existing inspection orders and adding up a series of master data related to quality control to SAP Business One. So using this application, the managers will be able to define all the rules for inspecting the products, all the inspection plans that are going to be performed, defining rules in which situations the quality control orders are going to be created, and how the sampling will be done. And they will also be able to track the quality control orders already existing and what's the progress of the testing. And then in the end, they can also print a quality control certificate. At this moment, we have quality control both for purchased materials and also for produced items using inspect. Then we have the inspect operator application that is designed for the inspectors that will do quality control. And in here, in a similar way to the operator, the only thing that they have access to is to open a quality control order and register the inspections. They will see all the quality control orders that are still pending to be done, and they will be able to insert all the inspection results to each one of the orders. On Boyum Cloud, we strive for a quick implementation path, meaning that in certain applications, for example, build and produce, you can have the system up and running in one single day of implementation. And in this one day, we're including both all the configurations, the trainings, and having the application ready to use. Because on build and produce, the applications will synchronize to Business One and will automatically import all the data that it needs to operate. For example, if you're implementing Build, you don't need to recreate your bill of materials from SAP or the routings from SAP or resources or whatever. It will connect to the SAP Business One database and will automatically link all the data that you have in the Boyum Cloud application to the SAP database in the same way as Produce. Produce works over 100% the standard production data from Business One, and you do the transactions in the same way as Business One does. And in the moment you create something in the cloud application, it will automatically create in the Business One database. In the case of Inspect, you can have a bit longer time because Business One do not have quality control data. So the quality control data will also have to be created on the cloud application. But in the same way, you have a very fast training and the users ready to use the application as they are designed for that purpose and do not have to be set up especially for each one of the users. Although you can also set authorizations for the different users. And we also aimed at a stress-free support, meaning that as this is a cloud applications, you don't have to worry about keeping the add-on up to date because all the solution is completely in cloud. It is connected to Business One, but completely in cloud. So all the enhancements, all the new features, all the bug fixes are deployed directly in the cloud platform. So whenever we release a new feature, this feature will be automatically available for all cloud customers. So you don't have to worry about having to retrain all the operators and stop the operations for a day to run the update and so on, because all the updates are instantly deployed to all the customers using the cloud platform. Now, let's go into the application and I'll show you how it works in a Leaf database. So here I have an SAP database, and just to start, I have a workflow created here in which I will explain how all our different applications from the Boeing Cloud platform integrates into a business flow. For example, the first one of the applications that you can use is the Boeing Cloud Build that will enable you to create new products, work on your existing products, or even manage the product requests. After you have your products created, you can go through your regular flow of generating demands for the companies and have the MRP to process both the requirements for purchases and for productions. For the purchasing part, you, after generating all the purchases, receive the purchase materials into stock, and then you can use the Boeing Cloud Inspect to inspect the items that are coming from purchases that you need for your production. Then, when you have your production orders created, you can register the progress of the work orders and all the transactions for consuming materials receiving the produced goods using Boeing Cloud Produce. And also, after you have your production completed, you can use Boeing Cloud Inspect to perform all the required inspections on your finished products for having a quality control certificate and releasing the products in SAP. So I will open up Boeing Cloud Build. The application is completely web, as you can see here. So I'm actually in a web browser now. And I can see here the Boeing Cloud Build application. From here, we have a feature to manage all the product requests. The product request can either be for creating a new product. For example, here I have a new development from the Build application. Or I can even work on an existing product. For example, I want to create a new product. And then what I can do is to come here and click on add a new request. And I can specify what's the name of my new request. For example, let's say new product. And this will create a product request for me. Here on this Kanban board, I can easily just drag and drop the requests in between the different statuses for me to know in which stage they currently are. So now I'll click in the request called new product, and from here I can select either in between creating a new item, and then on the moment I finish my product development and release it, the item will be created in SAP, or I can choose an existing item. So I could click, for example, on adding a new item and defining how the code and the groups will be set up for this item and what will be its unit of measurement, and apply all the changes here on the product development. Or I can even work on an existing product. For example, if I click on this one, I can see that I'm using a product that I already have in my database, as I have selected to use an existing product. And I can do it like this, for example, if I want just to see the item structure completely, and estimate the cost associated to its production. So when I pick up an existing item, I can just quickly come here and understand what are the direct labor and material costs I have associated to this product. And also here, by adding up extra sales surcharges, for example, transportation costs, commission costs, and the desired markup for selling this product, know what will be the ideal sales price. And I can have this automatically updated in a price list in SAP Business One. I can define to which price list the prices will go, and then I can perform a calculation that automatically updates the price according to the item's cost. Then when I am managing a new request, I can also define a series of tasks that have to be done, like in a mini project management, while I can here type in all the tasks that I need to do. And after I have completed the tasks, I can set them as completed. Then I can also handle attachments here in the product request. I can add as many attachments as I want. Then if I am either creating a new product or changing an existing product, I can work on the bill of materials, and I can link all the components I want for this product. And also here on the operations plan, I can link production operations and resources to the item structure, and then link the different materials to the different operations. And this is all done just by drag and drop. For example, I want to add a new drilling operation to this item. I just have to click, drag and drop it here. Then I can come into resources and add a driller, and add which material go through this drilling operation just by dragging and drop. Then I can set up the times, either for setup and processing. I can set here how many units will be processed in that time, how much I need to consume from the raw materials for a specific quantity of finished product, and then I can save to apply my changes. After all my changes, I'll have the item structure. The item structure can either be on a single level in the same way that you see in Business One, but we can also handle multi-level structures that are completely visible on the screen, meaning that you don't have, as in SAP Business One, to be opening different screens to see all the different levels of your products. You can just come here, and if you see a subassembly, you can open the subassembly. And if the subassembly has another subassembly inside, you can just click and detail all the components and all the operations you have to perform to complete this item's production. And then, as I showed before, come into the costing part, in which the system will tell you how much of material and labor costs you have for this item. And here an overview on what are the labor costs coming from. For example, I have a big cost for assembly and a small cost for welding. And after I have all my changes done, I have completed the bill of materials, all the changes I wanted to perform on the operation plan as well, on the item structure. I am okay with the cosins and the markups. I can come here under release and release the product. When I release, all the changes will be done in SAP, meaning that I can either create a new product or change a product that I have on SAP. I can also comment into the product request. After I do the changes, for example, move this to in progress. Then I can have someone approving my request. I can move this to awaiting approval and have someone to come here and set this as completed and released, and then perform the changes in SAP. From the build application, we can also come into the items menu and see all the different items that we have on the SAP database, and even go into the item structure view for that product. So if I just want to see all the levels of a product, I don't need to create a product request for that. I can come here into the item view, click on item structure, and see all the components and all the operations I have for this item in all its levels. From here, we can also manage production resources. Those are the same resources that exist in SAP Business One. Whenever you create a resource here or create a resource in SAP Business One, the data will be synchronized. And we also have the operations that are the same operations as SAP Business One. So this is basically it for build. And now we can see here on the flow that the next application that I have here in the case of purchasing is the inspect. So I have created my products or changed the products, and I have my purchase documents open, and I will receive my purchase documents, and those receipts will generate requirements for inspection in terms of quality control orders. For inspect, we have two applications, as I explained before, that are the inspect manager and the inspect operator. On the inspect manager, I can define all the data that will be required for executing the inspections. There are the inspection plans. Here, I can create all the different plans for inspecting the products, and inside each one of the plans, I can define what are the tests that I have to do. The test can either be subjective, meaning that will be either okay or not okay. And in the cases of being okay or not okay, I can also define what are the types of defects that I might come up with. For example, organoleptic properties. I can have up to 4 defects that are bad smell, bad taste. And if I come here, I can see also non-characteristic color and signs of fungus. I can create this list of defects and activate as many defects as I want for this test. And then when the quality control operator is performing the inspections, they can just select the relevant defects for this test. And here I can also have a variable measurement in which I just define the minimum, desired, and maximum values. And according to what the inspector really measures on the inspection order, the system will tell if this is okay or not. And I can also have an approval target for the inspections. For example, I can define a sampling plan. And in the sampling plan, I can say that I need, for example, 100 samples. Then I need the inspectors to pick up 100 units of the products and perform their inspections. But if I see that half of the samples are already okay, I don't need to keep on inspecting the other 50 units. I can just say that the order is okay. Then, for handling situations like those, I can define that the approval target is 50%. And when I reach 50% of my samples, I can have the inspection as already okay. Or if I have defects in 50% of my samples, the system will tell that this is automatically not okay. Or if I have, for example, only one sample for inspection or a few samples, I can also define the approval target as 100%. Just a second. Let me just open the application here again. So let me just refresh. If not, I can change the database. Okay, let me just connect to a different database. Okay, so coming back here, we can also have measurement units for inspection, because the measurement units for quality control are normally not the same as the ones that we use for production. For example, inspections that are related to percentiles or to pH or to other measurements that are not used for production but specific for inspections. And we can link into each one of the inspections what are the different unit of measurements that we want to use. Then we can define the operators. The operators are the persons created as human resources in Business One that will have access to perform quality control inspections. We can click on a person and define what's the card number that this person use to log in into the inspection operator application. And then we can define automation rules. Automation rules are rules in which we can have the system to create new quality control orders for specific transactions. We have either for purchase goods here on goods received, and we can select, for example, rules like adding a condition. I only want the inspection to be applied if the item is this specific item. Or I only want to inspect materials coming from this specific supplier. Or it can even be, for example, that I don't want to inspect materials coming from this other supplier. And I can define all those conditions, and the conditions will be part of the rules that the system will understand for creating the inspection order. I can either create one specific inspection order for each one of the lines in the document, or I can even create one per batch if you work with batches. So if I have in one line 3 batches, it will create 3 inspections. And I can have the system to release the batches after the inspection is completed. So I can receive, for example, the batches are not released, and after I go through the inspection processes and I release, it will release the batches for me. And I can also have inspections for production receipt. I can come here and I can add a new rule for inspections related to production and define what are all the conditions that needs to be applied for when I am inspecting produced items. I can define what will be the plan for executing the tests in this case, and what are the conditions, for example, which items I want to inspect when I produce them. Or it can be based on an item group, so all the items inside this specific group will have to be inspected, or even items having a specific property. And all those conditions will be linked to an inspection plan and to a sampling plan. After I define all the data, the system will create, based on the automation rules, all the inspection orders. And I'm going to have here an overview of all the existing inspection orders. I can have inspection orders that are still open, and here I can see their progress. For example, if they are in progress, no progress registered at all, just completed but lacking the quality control manager to finalize and register that this is completely finished. And then I can have here also a set of closed orders. Let me just select them all here. I'll finalize this one. And after I do it, it will come under the closed orders. So I can see that it is closed. And when I select the closed ones, I can see it. And I can also come here and click on print a quality control certificate. The quality control certificate can be printed either for the raw materials that I inspect or the finished products that I inspect. It will contain all the tests that I have done for each one of the samples and the result, if it have passed or not passed. Here the pass rate for this test and the final decision, that is, it has passed my quality control parameters. So from here, the quality control manager can monitor how the progress is flowing in the within the quality control inspectors and see here the result if it's still inconclusive, if I have more tests to do. And I can also click to see the details, for example, which tests I have to do, how much tests I have already passed, which tests have not been done yet, and understand how everything is happening with the quality control inspectors. Now, the quality control inspectors have their application that I can connect by typing in their card code. Let me just connect to the other database. And here I can see all the orders that I can work with. So I see here that this is my operator application. So I don't have any access to master data or any other kind of transactions. I only have access to quality control orders that I need to inspect. So an operator can very easily understand how they need to work with this application, because the only thing that they have to do is to click on an order. They will see the test and they can do the testing in here. They can type in the results in here for each one of the samples. So the applications are designed to be extremely easy to use, especially for the operators, for them only to focus on the tests that they have to do and nothing else. So for me to do a test, I just have to click here in a specific order. I can see the ones that I'm currently working on or all the available inspection orders here on the bottom. I click on one. Then I see all the samples that I need to inspect, and I can do all the tests that I want here. For example, conditions for having it passed, not passed, or if I can take a manual decision. For example, I see in this case I have no damages on the item, a severe damage that this is failed, and I can click here and select the reasons and the defects. Or if I have a slight damage that I might still want to approve, then I can decide if I want to approve or not. And also select the relevant defect. And I can do this for each one of the samples. And then see here in the review order, all the samples that I have completed, all the tests that I have to do. For example, here I see that I still have 8 tests that have to pass. I see here that I have 2 pass and 1 fail. I see that I need 10 to pass for me to be able to release this order. And after I complete the inspection, I will see all the different tests in here, and the manager will see the status of this process. Then, after we have gone through inspecting the raw materials, releasing the raw materials, we have the produce application. The produce application is divided also into produce manager and produce operator. In the produce manager, okay, I have connected here to my default database. So you can also do some more examples. Here on when I connect in the produce manager, I can see, first of all, a dashboard that will say the statuses of my current orders. I have, in this moment, 6 orders that are on partial stop. Partial stop means that I have done a partial production. Then I can track how many orders I have in progress at this moment, and what are the priorities for my different orders, as well as how many orders I finished on time and not on time. And here on those 2 set of data, I'll see the resources that are currently working and the operators that are currently working. I don't have in this moment either resources or operators working. But when I come here in the produce operator and I connect myself as an operator, I can see all the different operations that I have worked on, or all the operations available, because the ones that I have already related to, I can see as my operations. I see here both the operations that I have started or operations for which I have done partial jobs. And here I can see also all the operations that I have not yet been started. In the same way as on the inspect operator, this is designed for the shop floor operators only to do their job. So they don't have access to anything else here apart from clicking on an operation, see the material requirements, and also how much stock is available for each one of the components. So just before starting an operation, they can, with one click, know if they are going to have or not enough stock to produce that item, and click on start to start processing this material. So I'll click, for example, on this one for the machined steel piece. I see that in this case, I have stock to perform the production. I can click on start, and now I have this operation started. If I come in into the production manager and I refresh it, the refresh is also automatically, but I'll force the system to refresh now. I can see that this machine is working on order 24 and that this operator is working on order 24. I can click on the order to see its details. So I see here, for example, that this is an operation. This is a work order that have only one operation. You can see 0 from 1. So I have 0 completed from a total of 1 operations. And I see a yellow icon that indicates that this machine is currently working to process this order. And I also see the priority. The priority is, in this case, automatically defined as high, considering the delivery date and the due date that I have assigned to this work order. I can come into the production orders view to see all the different orders that I have created and their priorities. You can see that in some cases I have an arrow with a square and arrows without a square. The arrows with a square are the ones for which I have manually changed the priority. So the system can define the priority for me, but I can click and change it. And then I see the square to indicate that I have manually changed the priority. I see the number of operations, and I see a color here indicating the status. The blue one is because I have a partial stop, meaning that I partially completed the task. The empty one is that I have not yet registered. I have the yellow for in progress, and I have the green for completed. I can see here more details, like, for example, how much units I had planned for production, the planned start, and the due date for the orders. And if I come here, I can also click on an order, for example, that I have unapproved, and I can decide to approve. And when I approve, it will release the order in SAP Business One. So, but before releasing, I can first of all understand if I have stock or not. I can just click on it and open up the material availability. On the material availability, let me just do on the other ones. Let's see. I think the problem is this database. Let me switch to database. Okay, now I'll come into the work orders. I can click here. For example, this one is unapproved. I'll click and I'll check the material availability. Now, I'll see here a list of all the components I require and the status. And I see that, for example, all those orders have available stock and I can decide on releasing it. But now I don't need to do this for each one of the work orders. I can click on several ones and I can do a complete material check for all of them before I decide to approve them. I can see, for example, that this material is unavailable. This one is not available, but is already ordered, either in the form of a work order for a subassembly or a purchase order for a raw material. And I can see all the statuses here regards the quantity that I require, the quantity that I have on stock, and the ordered quantities. Now, we also have on the manager side a transactions monitor. The transactions monitor helps you to understand what were all the transactions performed on the different work orders, and the transactions here are material issues for production, time registers for the work orders that we also add cost to the production process, and production receipts for the work orders. If I click on each one of them, I can see the details regarding the material issues, resource times, and also product receipts. And here on the processing details, I can see all the details for this transaction. Now, on this case, we have on the transactions panel two tabs that are all and unprocessed. Unprocessed is because we have a concept that we allow the operator to work all the time, focusing on the work that they have to do at this moment. Meaning that, for example, on business one, you cannot do a transaction if you are missing an exchange rate and you are working on a multi-currency database. But for the operator, it makes no sense to stop one operator for working in production if you're missing an exchange rate on the system, because the operator have consumed the materials, they have done their times, they have completed the production. The only thing is that the transactions cannot be registered in SAP unless someone type in the exchange rate. And let's say that an operator is working at 1 in the morning in the factory on the third shift, and there is no one in the office that can update the exchange rate, so they'll not be able to do the transactions until the next day. In this case, what we do on the inspect on the operator application is that we allow the operator to proceed working no matter if, for example, we have a missing exchange rate. So the operator will not see this. The operator can start the operation, finish the operation, say that the materials are consumed, complete the productions, but on the manager side, we are going to see on the transactions part, unprocessed transactions. Those are transactions that need to be executed, but for some reason they could not be processed. And the system will tell what was the reasons for not processing. Let me see if I can change the database and we can see a live example of that. Yeah, this database is unfortunately okay, I have it here. So I can come on the transactions part, and let's say that today I don't have an exchange rate. So I'll just erase the exchange rates that I have today. Then I will not be able to process any transaction. And I will log in as an operator. And I will say that I have completed this task. I will stop it. When I'm stopping an operation as an operator, I can say if I need to do more work or if I'm already finished. If I decide to do more work, it will create a partial stop. I can say how much units are produced and how much units are scrapped. If I add in scraps, business one will receive these items in a scrap warehouse that I can set on the manager application. So if I come on the production manager, I can come into settings and define what is my rejected warehouse. It will create a rejected receipt for me. I'll say that, for example, I have 5 units produced. And I'll click on next. And I can say here what was the time that it took for me to execute this production. I see here that I was expected to do this in 3 hours and 9 minutes, and I did this in 6 minutes. I can then correct or confirm. I click on next, and the system will tell me which materials I need to consume according to the amounts that I am currently producing. And I can decide, for example, to change the quantities. Let's say I had to use one more tool in this case. I'll just save it like that. I can select from different batches. You see all the batches available. If you have a barcode reader, you can also read the barcode of the batch in here, and this will display the batches corresponding to the value that you insert here. Then I can click on next. It will present me a summary saying that this operation is partial. I have produced 5 units. Then here the time that I registered and the differences in the materials. I can say that this is fine. I want to complete it like that. Now, for me as an operator, I can just keep on working. I don't see any errors on consuming the materials or producing the items or whatever. And I only had one operation. So this is the moment I received the material in stock. But on the manager side, if I come here under transactions, I'll see an unprocessed transaction. And I can click on it, or the processing details, and I'll see that I had an error in booking the products, in consuming materials, and registering the resources times. And I can see that this is because I have missed the exchange rate. Now I could just come into SAP, and I can add up the exchange rate. And when I come here again, I can click on retry processing. When I retry processing, the system will go through all the validations again and through all the transactions again, and will execute all the transactions now that I have the exchange rate updated. But for the operator, this is not something that they can see, meaning that they are just working on the different work orders, doing the work that they have to do, and the manager is the one that have to deal with all the problems coming from the production transactions. And they will see here under that transactions panel. After the transaction have been processed, it's now started. And after it have been processed, it will come into the all panel. I can see here as started, it will come into the all panel as processed, and all the transactions are going to be created into SAP. Here, as a manager, we can also create operators for working in production. These are also connected to the human resources on SAP Business One. And coming in here, I can define the card numbers for each one of the employees. Then on the dashboard, after I complete the production order, I see before that this resource was working and that this operator is working. And as they completed their tasks, they have now set as stopped. And all the transactions that I do on the different work orders will be visible from Business One directly. So this means that I can come into the work orders, and after I have consumed materials, have registered finished goods, registered times, this will all be created as transactions in the Business One's production orders. So there is no extra transaction or extra data that produce, for example, uses or also build. Build and produce will use the same data that you have on Business One. And this is basically it, what I have planned for this presentation. Now we have some time for questions. If you have questions, if you want to ask something or see some specific example.
Thank you, Lucas. Thanks for your time. Now I will allow everything. So, guys, as you can see, that this is a plug and play model for extending as well the sub business one production model, which has as well features that doesn't exist in sub business one. So later on, I will be sharing as well the recording for this webinar. I will leave it for you if you have any question. Okay, and let me allow mic. So you can, if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask any questions that you want. And thanks again for attending the demo, sorry, the webinar. And I will leave it to you. If you have any question, Lucas will be available as well.
Sure.
Lucas, some question regarding the dashboard. Is it extendable on the, I'm not talking about the business one side, it is on the website, on the cloud side.
What do you mean if you can change the dashboard?
Yes, dashboards.
Yeah, the dashboards on the cloud side for now, they are not changeable. So the dashboards come in by default with the application, bring in some insights related to the application. But for example, in the case of Produce, all the transactions that you do are SAP Business One transactions. So you can create, for example, I have one example of a dashboard that I have done here. Let me just share the screen again quickly. Just a second. So I have it loading the data here. Just a second that I'm starting the dashboard. I have one dashboard showing an example of how we can create a capacity control tool that can see the business one capacity coming from the resources and also displaying how the production orders are being executed and how capacity is being consumed. So this is actually based on the standard business one feature for setting the daily capacities on the resources. It will tell me how much of capacity I have in each one of the machines. I can filter by the time ranges here, for example, to understand how the resources are going to be busy for today and the next 30 days. I'll see here in the, I think I don't have the plannings, but I can click here on the resource and I'll see how is the daily utilization of this resource. I see how much I have of occupation and planned capacity. And the advantage of using a dashboard like this combined to Boyum Cloud Produce is that you have a connection in real time to how the production is happening. In the moment you execute a work order, this work order that was planned before and consuming capacity is now set as executed. And then you can see how much you still have of scheduled production, how much you have now of executed production, and the times you have on each one of the resources. So you can combine your dashboards, for example, on the business one side to the transactions coming from the cloud. And also, there will be an integration of data coming in, for example, from Inspect into Business One as well. So you can also create reports and dashboards on the Business One side for the quality control inspections. But the dashboards on the cloud itself, they are not changeable.
Okay, clear. And guys, do you have any other question? Yeah.
How do we know that the integration, which is integrated, which is not integrated, where there is much great differences, those kinds of things? Do we have any error log or execution log? Are we keeping that?
Sorry,
Another one, how we will keep it into multiple databases, kind of thing.
Okay, I'm not sure if I understood you well because it sounded you're a bit away from the microphone, but you asked how the cloud application integrates to Business One?
Yes, when it is an offline, for example, that as you said that exchange rates are not there, production orders are not getting completed in SAP, but the production persons can complete it. So
Yeah.
how the
It has the application is cloud, so it has its own database. So the application is in Azure with Cosmos DB. So it has its own database and it synchronizes to Business One. The synchronization happens by the service layer. And this is why, for example, if you have a SQL installation, we are compatible above version 10 of SAP because on version 10 you have service layer for SQL, and on HANA starting on version 9.3. So the synchronization and the communication between cloud and Business One happens through the service layer. As the application has its own database, meaning that it's not working on the Business One database, it's on its own database and it's sending the requests and getting the information from the service layer, it keeps the transactions, let's say, as planned transactions inside cloud. And in the moment it understands that the validations are okay, it will process the transactions on Business One. So I can see that after I have done the transactions will be processed. And this is communicated to Business One automatically. And this communication, as I said, happens through the service layer. If you have multiple databases, you can connect your database to the cloud platform. And you can select here to which database you want to connect. There is a link in after you subscribe to the cloud to the cloud products, you link your service layer IDs and the public IPs for your service layer to the cloud platform for each one of the databases. And you can then select which database you want to connect. And you just configure the databases that will be accessible for cloud.
Okay.
Any other question, guys? I think we're fine. Guys, if you need more detail about the product as well, we will be happy as well to give you a full demo on that later on. So thank you again for attending the webinar. And hopefully we'll see you as well next month in other webinars that we will do as well. It will be as well interested as this one. Thanks, Lucas and Jose to attend the webinar as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it as well for the short notice as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.